Hi everyone, welcome to the Cloud and Loud Technologies technical session events. So Cloud and Loud Technologies is having 11 plus years of experience in training associates in different types of technologies like artificial intelligence, Kubernetes, machine learning, DevOps tools, and many, many more. So please subscribe to our Cloud and Loud channel for getting more updates, and please follow the LinkedIn page of Cloud and Loud so that you don't miss any updates that the future, any future events that Cloud and Loud is going to organize. Okay, and just before starting the session, let me give you some details on the Cloud and Loud. I have pasted a few details about our Cloud and Loud Technologies page, so you can follow those Cloud and Loud page and newsletter for more updates for the upcoming sessions. And also you can post your any technical queries that you have after this session. And if you're not able to ask during the session, you can post your queries in a technical group so that we can answer you. Okay. So let's start the session. Myself, 𝐂𝐥𝐨𝐮𝐝 𝐓𝐞𝐜𝐡𝐧𝐨𝐥𝐨 and I work with Cognizant Technology Solutions, and I am Azure and 𝐂𝐴MCAT certified IT engineer. So today I'm going to take a sessions on Azure Cloud Technology. Before starting the Azure Cloud, before starting the session, whoever has not attended my previous session regarding the cloud computing and the Azure introduction, please, you can watch the session in Cloud and Loud YouTube channel. But for the people who are joining this session for the first time and you are new to the Azure Cloud platform, I'm just going to give a overview of the Azure platform and few of the terminologies that we will be using in the Azure to make sure that whatever we do hands-on, you understand what are the terminologies we are speaking about and we are using. Okay. So if can you please just confirm me in the chats that I'm audible? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so Azure is nothing but a cloud platform which is providing more than 200 plus products and services to the companies to achieve their, there are many challenges nowadays the organizations are facing in managing their own infrastructure. To overcome those challenges and to give the customers a quick application on they can present their application. They can host their application and make the users available, make the users use them very easily when compared to manage their own infrastructure. So Azure, in simple terms, I can say that Azure is nothing but a cloud platform which is offering more computing services along with many infrastructure services over the internet for the organizations, for the users to use and solve their daily challenges in regards to infrastructure so that they can create a better future for them. Azure platform is also offering many tools and frameworks that any developer can go and develop their applications, and also they can host their applications in the Azure platform itself. So you can go by whatever tools you are comfortable with, and you can create your own applications and you can host your applications in the platform. Okay, so just to give a basic introduction, keynote on the Azure, I just wanted to give you one of the example why Azure is important. So let's say your company is having like 2 web applications, and if your company is wanted to host those applications in the virtual machines, let's say if your company is not going with with the cloud platform, then the company has to buy the physical servers and the physical storage, all those things to create the virtual machines on the servers. Once they have bought the physical storage and physical servers, then they can create the virtual machines and they can host on their and after that they can host these web applications or the websites on those virtual machines which we have created on the physical servers. Not only these hosting these web applications, if you are going with your managing own infrastructure, there are many other concepts that aspects that any company should be considering of. For example, say networking or cooling systems that they need to manage in their data center for managing this hardware, and the maintenance cost that they are going to pay for this hardware. So everything they need to be taking care of everything when they are planning to go with their own infrastructure. The main advantage of going with this cloud platform is, for example, let's say if the company is planning to go with the Azure, then don't need to bother about any of these components related to the setting up of their own infrastructure. They don't need to invest any initial amount in setting up their own infrastructure, right? And also they don't need to spend their time in scaling in setting up their data center. And also it is going to be waste if at some time in future, if your company is going to decide that they don't need these virtual machines anymore, or they don't need to host these web applications, or if they are taking it down, then whatever the physical infrastructure your company has bought is going to be waste. So the main advantage of going with the cloud is you don't need to bother about anything related to the infrastructure or any associated with it, like any security related to your infrastructure, nothing. Everything is taken care by the cloud provider with whom you are working with. For example, here say Azure. Azure will be managing their own physical servers. They will be managing their own databases, and they will be managing their own networks, security, everything they will be taking care of. If you want to host your web application, you can just sign up to Azure and just go and create your virtual machine. And once you create your virtual machine, and you can start hosting your websites or your web applications. It's so easy if you decide to go with the Azure, not only Azure, any cloud platform. So the main advantage we have seen here is like spinning up any virtual machines in a matter of minutes and to start your business. And also not only this, any cloud platform will provide you like high scalability, high availability, global reach. There are many benefits if you are planning to go with cloud technology. And also you don't need to pay any upfront amount or any initial investment before starting your business. And also you don't need to pay if you decide, if you wanted to just take your web applications down, you don't need to worry about your hardware infrastructure that you have bought, because you will be just deleting those virtual machines which you have created, and it's going to stop costing you. So the cloud platform, one of the main benefits of the cloud platform is like you can go like a pay as you go model, which means that so when whatever the resource you are using in the cloud platform, you are just going to pay what you are using. So it's, if you are deleting any, suppose say if you don't want this virtual machine, if you're deleting this, then it won't cost you after that. Like that, you can take down any resources which you don't want, and you can save your cost that you're going to spend in your maintenance or in your operational causes, right? This is the main advantage, one of the advantage of going with the cloud platform. Now, let me take you to a few of the terminologies that you need to know before going to work with Azure. So one of, there are few concepts that you need to be aware of to understand what we are doing in the Azure portal. So first of all, to go with Azure, you need to have an Azure account. So once you have created your own Azure account, if you are new to the Azure platform, if you are beginner, and if you are thinking to go with your creating own platform, and you can try few things and services that Azure is offering, you can just go and create an Azure account in Azure portal.azure.com. I will share you the link after that in the chats. And yeah, so Azure account, you need to sign up with the Azure before start using here before going to see any Azure services. So if you are part of any organization, obviously your organization will provide you some credentials to log in into your Azure portal. So you need one Azure account, first of all, to go into Azure portal and to see the services. Okay, so the next thing is, the next important thing is subscription. So any account you create, it will be Azure, sorry, some Banu Prakash is asking Azure Active Directory and tenant account is same. Yes, so Azure Azure tenant is nothing but like if in the overall Azure cloud, you are, or your organization, or if suppose you are alone or you are managing one organization, you are going to take a part of the Azure cloud. Like you are going to, like you will be subscribing with your name, your company name, right? So they will be allocating one name to your organization, who that is called as like, it literally means like they are going to allocate a part of Azure cloud to your organization, with which you can, under which you can create any resources and manage your services and applications. So that is, in simple terms, is called as a Azure tenant. So in simple terms, and I can also say that Azure tenant is nothing but a trusted and dedicated Azure Active Directory that is particularly provided to you or to your organization. And yes, the Azure Active Directory and the tenant is same. The users, whichever you are creating under your organization, they are going to be called as a tenant users. And those users, to log in into the Azure portal, they need to be like, Azure Active Directory is something like identity and access management service, which manages your user to make sure they are the authorized user and they are the correct users to access your resources. So the just difference is Azure tenant is nothing but a part of a cloud given to your organization. And yes, the Azure Directory is a service which manages the access to your users and to make sure that authorized users can only access your organization's resources. So I hope you understood, Banu Prakash. If you have any questions, yeah, you can ask me in later part in question and answer sessions as well. Okay. Okay, let me go with the subscriptions. So subscription is nothing but when you create one Azure account, you will be getting a subscription by default. Subscription is nothing but whatever the resources or the services you are going to use with your Azure account is going to be charged against the subscription you have subscribed with. For example, when you are creating, for example, if you are going to create a free account, let's say you are creating a free subscription account with Azure platform to see some of the Azure services. So when you create a subscription, you will be providing credit card details where Azure, whatever the resources or whatever the services you are going to use within the Azure account, it's going to be charged against the credit card which you have provided while subscribing yourself. So like that, Azure subscription is a must to use any resources or any services in the Azure platform. So whatever the cost associated with that resource or with that service will be charged against to your subscription. Okay, so as I said, now Azure Active Directory is nothing but a service that will come automatically along with your Azure account. So whenever you create an Azure account, you will be having an Azure Active Directory service allocated and running, so which manages the identity and access of you or your users. So it makes sure that the right identity users is logging into the Azure and no unauthorized users can be accessible. So that is the main advantage of having Azure Active Directory. And coming to the resources, so we are saying this resource. So what is resources? So there are many services that Azure platform is offering, like virtual machines, SQL Server database, and then virtual networks. There are many services that Azure is offering. So if you are creating one instance of the Azure service, then it is called as a resource. For example, let's say Azure virtual machine is a service that Azure platform is offering. So if you have created, say, virtual machine one for one application or for running one project, And if you're creating another virtual machine, say VM2, and for other project or for other application, then this virtual machine 1 is called as a resource. And this virtual machine 2 is called as a resource. But in overall, Azure Virtual Machine is a service that Azure is offering. So a resource is nothing but an instance of any service that you are creating to complete your job is called as a resource. Okay, and now we'll see resource group. Resource group is nothing but a logical group that you are creating to maintain all your resources at a single place. For example, if you are maintaining 2 applications or 2 projects, then you don't want the resources of one project to mess up with other project, right? So to differentiate that, I'm creating one resource group under which I'm going to place all my resources that is related to my project 1 or application 1. And also I'm going to create another resource group where I'm going to place all the resources that is related to my project 2. So in that way, I can handle and I can manage my resources related to that application or that project very easily. So resource group is nothing but a logical container or a logical folder that is going to where you are going to place all your resources of a particular reason. For example, if you are thinking to create one virtual machine and you are making them and making it as a web server. So whatever the resources that you are creating related to the virtual machine or to the web server, everything you will be grouping in one group that is called as a resource group. Okay, so I'm now coming to the locations. So if you want to create any resource in the Azure platform, you have to give a location where you want to create that resource. Like for example, if you want to create one resource, one virtual machine, when you are creating a virtual machine, it will ask you the region or the location. It means whatever the resource you are going to create, that resource will be placed in that particular region. Like there should be some backend physical infrastructure, there should be, right, which manages whatever the virtual machines or the services you are creating. So whatever the region you select, so the data center where the physical data center which the Azure cloud platform is offering. So you are going to host your resource in that particular region on that physical infrastructure. So there should be a background infrastructure where you are going to create all your resources, right? So it should be like most probably it's like wherever you want to, you will be creating the resources wherever you want to serve the customers, or you will be creating the resources whichever it is nearest to you and wherever the services are available for you based on that. Okay, so location is nothing but, or region is nothing but a physical data center where the resources you are creating is going to be hosted. Okay, this is a few terminologies that you need to be known before starting hands-on. So I hope you are clear. Just a moment. Okay, I can see that Nizam has asked that if possible to move one resource group to other resource group. I created one subnet network and now I wanted to move another subnet network. Nizam, to explain this regarding this resource group of moving from one resource group to another resource group, I just wanted to show you before creating the resource group, there are a few options which are there. So when we create the different, resource group, when we create the resource group, the network that is creating in that particular resource group, it's going to be only allocated to the resources which you are going to create in that particular resource group. So if you can move the resources to the other resources, but I think it's not possible to move your subnet or network to the other resource group. To understand this in a better way, when we are creating the virtual machine, when the network is created, you will be understanding in a better way, I hope. Okay, so please let's go to our hands-on session. So before that, as I have explained, these are the few things that you need to know, like what is Azure resources and what is the resource group and what are the regions and Azure Active Directory subscriptions, and you should have your own Azure account. Okay, so in overall, Azure platform is having 60 plus regions worldwide along across 140 countries. So there are few regions which you are not be able to host your applications or the resources because that is only private to some of the like some of the government or defense departments. There are few regions which is particular to US government and US defense, so this will not be available for us, and those will be available only for the people who are working with the US government. And also there are few regions in the China region which will not be available for us, because only the people whoever live in the China can only be able to access those regions. So these are the few of the regions which will not be available for you. Okay. And yeah, before going the hands-on, I hope, let me show you. Okay, so I have created one Azure account. So when I have created, I have subscribed for when I have subscribed for like free subscription, which has when you go and first create your account with the Azure platform, you will be getting like $200 USD, which you can use to try any service that Azure is offering. Once along with that, they will be giving you like something called free services that will be available for you for the 12 months. And also there are some services that is available for you, that there are always free. Okay, so when I have created the free account, I have been given $200 of USD, which I was when I was trying few of the services. So whatever the charge that was associated with my subscription, that was charging up against the $200 USD. But once you have completed with your free subscription, you need to go with a pay-as-you-go model. So which means that whatever the resources are you are going to use and how much time you are going to use, based on that you will be charged. Okay. So this is the Azure portal. So I just want to give a quick introduction about the Azure portal. So when you go into portal.azure.com, you can sign up for a free account for $200. Once you have subscribed, you can log in into this page. So as you can see, there are 3 lines here, which shows you there are many like objects here. So there are, if you go to all resources, you can see all the resources that Azure is offering. In the same way, you can make a pin of any resources that you wanted to use frequently, and you can just go and search any resource that you wanted to use here, or else whatever the notification, whatever you are doing a deployment or any notification to you, it will be available here. So please make sure to check the notifications, because sometimes whatever, even if you are using your free subscription, whatever the charge against that is charging, that will be mentioned here to make sure that that you can be notified on what are the updates happening. If you are going to deploy any resources, whatever the updates, whatever the notifications, that's going to be appear here. After that, you can start working with them. Okay, so these are the few things that I wanted to introduce about the Azure portal. So let's go and create okay, let's start seeing a few of the Azure services. To introduce that, I'll just go here. I'll just show Azure services. Let me say it's create. Okay, so these are the different types of categories or different types of services that Azure is offering. As you can see, there are computing services, there are container services, there are databases services, and DevOps, and Internet of Things. There are so many services that are Azure offerings. So if you want to go and use any service, you can just go to that category, and based on that, you can start using it. Okay, so these are the different types of categories services that Azure is offering. And also I want to tell you about the Azure Marketplace. So Azure Marketplace is nothing but a platform. In the Azure platform, you will be having one thing called Azure Marketplace. Here you can find all the products and the services that Azure has to offer you. Along with this, any third parties that they have created their own products that will be compatible with our Azure platform, those also will be available here. So you can go and search for any products and you can start using it. So you can find every service and every product in the Azure Marketplace. Okay, and Sorry, can you able to hear me? I just got a notification that I was disconnected. I just want to make sure that I'm still connected. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, great, thank you. So now, okay, so before start seeing the different types of Azure services and how we can use them, I wanted to let you know that one of the thing in Azure platform, like let's say go to Azure Active Directory. So if you go to Azure Active Directory, there will be option saying that properties. So go to the properties. If you slowly scroll down, there will be an option saying manage security defaults. If you go into that, so when you create an Azure account, by default, it will be like S, which means that when you want to log in into the Azure portal, whenever you enter your username and password, and as a next step, it will ask you, it will send you one like OTP to your mobile number that you have given while registering. You have to enter that OTP to log in into this Azure portal. It's like multi-factor authentication. So if you are just using in your own lab, like if you're just practicing here, and if you want to log in into the Azure portal multiple times, if you want to avoid that, you can just go and select it as no and just save, so that whenever you try to log in into the Azure portal, you can just log in with your username and password. It won't ask you for authentication and all those things. But yes, if in a real time, if the organization, they will be definitely yes, because they don't want any unauthorized users to access. So there will be a multi-factor authentication. But for your personal use, if you want to avoid again and again, if you are accessing the portal multiple times, then you can select no and you can go with that. Okay. Okay, so today let's see about one of our popular service, which is Azure Virtual Machine. So Azure Virtual Machine is nothing like what is like machine. It has some compute power and it has some RAM. Once you have created your virtual machine, you can go and host any workload on that. Like whatever you decide. If you want to decide like that VM is going to act like a web server, you can go and install the web server application and you can start building the websites. If you want your virtual machine as a database, then you will be installing this SQL server database or something, whatever you want to play the role of that virtual machine, it can be available for you. Okay, so in Azure, we have both Linux and Windows operating systems, which that Azure Virtual Machine supports. Okay, and as I said, in this cloud platform, you can terminate any services whenever you decide that you don't want it anymore. The same as like Azure Virtual Machine also, if you have created and you have done your work, and if you decide, you just go and terminate delete your Azure Virtual Machines, so that there will be no charge that will be cost for these virtual machines against you. Okay, so before seeing the hands-on on how to create the virtual machines, let's see a small concept on whenever you go and create a virtual machine by yourself, then along with your virtual machines, there are some of the services, there are some of the resources that will be get automatically created along with your virtual machine. So let's say that is one of them is OS disk, and the other one is public IP address, and the other one is a network security group, and other one is a virtual network, and another one will be like network interface and all those things. So whenever you create the virtual machines, automatically all these needs to be created along with your virtual machine. So what the options which you wanted to select, based on that you will be applying in the properties while you're creating the virtual machines. But for creating the virtual machine, you should definitely have a subscription, and also it should be part of any resource group. So just remember this, when I go and create a virtual machine now, then I'll show you what are the properties we are selecting and how we can differentiate and based on our requirement. Okay. Okay, now let's go to Azure Portal. Here, let me go to all resources. And I'm going to create one virtual machine now. And I'm going to make that virtual machine work as like a web server. So that I am also going to test whether I'm able to access that web server from outer network, from the internet as well or not. Okay, let's go and create. So whenever you click on the create, you will be going to Azure Marketplace. So you will be having all the products here, or just you can go to home and you can just type as virtual machines. So once you go to the virtual machines, you can go and create on that. Okay. So likewise, here also you will be having all the options. You can just go to virtual machines and create, or you can go to the all resources and create. Okay, I'm going to create one virtual machine now. Let me say I'm going to create one Windows web server. I want a web server which is hosted on the Windows operating system. Okay, so I'm going to create one Windows virtual machine. I have selected this Windows image so that I want my virtual machine operating system as a Windows. So when I have clicked on the create, it has taken me to one page, one wizard, where I have like different options, as you can see, basics, disk, networking, all those things, categories, which I need to fill based on how I wanted my virtual machine to be. So based on the resource that you are trying to create, there will be different categories on the different options that you need to be filling when it comes to the Azure portal based on your requirement. Okay, so as you can see, it is automatically tagged to Azure subscription 1. So my subscription is like pay as you go. So I have one subscription that is showing automatically. If you have multiple subscriptions, then definitely your subscriptions, all subscriptions will be listed here. You can choose which subscription you want. So remember that whatever cost that is going to be allocated, that coming from this virtual machine will be costed against your this subscription. Okay, so if you have already created one resource group, you can just go and select your resource group. As I don't have any resource group, I'm going to create one new now. Okay, so create new and just going to give as resource group 1. Okay, done. So virtual machine name. So I'm going to call it as like say my Windows virtual machine. So I have given name as WinVM. Okay, so now this is the region. So as I told you earlier, there is, you should definitely give some region where you want actually your machine to be created. There should be some background of physical infrastructure where this virtual machine to be hosted, right? So here it's East US, but as I'm residing in Australia, as it's easy for me to like, as I can get fast response, I'm selecting Australia Center. So whichever is required for you, you can select any region, or whichever is nearest to you, you can go with that as well. Okay, so on coming to the availability options, there are like so availability is nothing but when I have created my virtual machine, if I want the replicate of that, like if I want like the same copy of my virtual machine to be hosted in some other zone or in other data center, whenever to maintain the more high availability, these availability options will be utilized. So I'm going to explain more about this availability set and virtual machine scale set in my next session. So probably as of now, I'm going with I don't want any redundancy. I don't want any copies of my virtual machine, and just one virtual machine creation is enough for me. So I'm just going with no infrastructure redundancy is required. So and then this is the image that which I have chosen now, Windows image. So and then so as you can see all image, if you click on the see all images, so it will take you to the platform where you can see different types of operating systems. If you want to choose any other operating system, you can just select that and go with that. Okay, so as I want Windows, I'm keeping it as it is. Okay, next coming to the size. So as you can see here, this default one, it has given me as 2 virtual CPUs and 8 GB of memory. If you click on see all sizes, it will present you all the sizes that is Azure is offering you. So, and you can see the virtual CPUs, how much the particular like particular size is going to offer you, and how much RAM is going to offer you. And based on that, you can also see how much it's going to cost me monthly. And one thing I wanted to show you is, Just a moment. If you go to Azure website, and if you go to free account, so there are few services, there are few virtual machine services that is free for 12 months. As you can see, there is 750 hours of B1S type of virtual machine. You can create Windows one, and it is going to be free for 750 hours, which you can utilize before 12 months, right? But if you come here again, so if you see B1S, it's B1S, it is having one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM, right? So if you just want to try and create one virtual machine, then it is useful. But if you want to host some workload on that, if you want to try something, just spinning up it, that is enough. If you want to try just how to create the virtual machine, you can go with B1S. But if you want to try to host some load on that, then can use those virtual machines, even my free account. So your free account, you mean like $200 USD, whichever you have been given? Yes, once even your $200 USD also completed, you can use this B1S service, because it is free for you for 12 months and it is for 750 hours. Okay. So as of now, as I'm planning to host my web server on the virtual machines which I'm creating, I don't want to go with B1S. So I'm going with the D2S V3 instance, where I have been provided with the 2 virtual CPUs and 8 GB of RAM, because I want to install web server on that. So I'm going with this instead, as I want to host workload. Okay. So let me go with the same one. So now I'm going to give username. Let me give VM1. Okay, this is my username, username and password, which I'm going to use while logging into my virtual machine. So when you connect it to your virtual machine, you should give a username and password to go into the virtual machine, right? So these are the credentials that you're going to provide while logging into your virtual machine. Okay, let me set some password. So if you can see here, there is some password criteria that your password should not be less than 12 characters long and should not be more than 123 characters. And you should have one lowercase, uppercase, and one number and special characters. So you need to make sure that your password matches all those criteria, so that it will be great. Yeah. So I have just given username and password. Okay. So now, inbound port rules. To explain this, let me show you one thing. Okay, so as I told you, whenever we are going to create the virtual machine, it's going to create some of the resources, right? So in that, one of them is network security group. This network security group, what it's going to do is, it depending on the protocol which we are saying allow, except that it's going to block any other traffic that is coming through the internet. So for example, if I select as none here, then no traffic will be allowed to access my virtual machine that I am creating inside of this network security group. So for now, to access the traffic from RDP, I'm allowing the port 3389, as I'm going with the Windows virtual machine. I'm allowing the port 3389, which is RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. So that this network security group now allows the traffic from port 3389, and we can connect it to the virtual machine using the RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Okay. So I'm go to next, disks. Okay, so coming to the disk, there are, as you can see, OS disk type. As I have shown here, so whenever your virtual machine is created, there is one OS disk that will be created along with your virtual machine, right? So this is the disk where your operating system and its related data will be stored. Okay, so there are 3 types of disk types you have available. One is premium SSD, standard HDD. So HDD is a hard disk drive, and SSD is a solid state drive. So you can select one of the options. But so to decide which option is best at what scenario, So standard HDD is only useful for any non-critical or just you are using the server as a backup server, then you can go with the standard HDD. If your virtual machine is going to be useful for testing or development purpose, then you can go with the standard SSD. And this premium SSD is going to be useful for your production purposes. Okay, so the amount of disk storage that these types are going to provide is same. So all the maximum capacity all these disks can provide you is around like 32,000 GB. Okay, but where it differs is the maximum amount of IOPS and the maximum amount of throughput that it can provide you. Based on that, you can select these categories. So standard HDD will provide you less throughput and less IOPS when compared to these both. And the same way, the premium SSD will provide you more throughput and more IOPS when compared to these two ones. So if any one of you don't know about what is throughput and what is IOPS, IOPS is nothing but like whenever your data is stored on any disk, let me show you. Okay. So let's say if this is your disk and you have stored some data. Okay. So the capacity of this disk to serve like input and output operations, or otherwise we can say as read and write operations, that this disk can able to handle per second is called as a IOPS. And the throughput is nothing but the amount of data that you're going to store, or the amount of data, like for example, if you are going to store one video file. So if that, how much time this video file is going to take to store in this storage, or how much time this video file I can access. So that is called as a throughput. Okay, so premium SSD will have a high throughput and high IOPS when compared to the other disks. So that will be more useful for your production purposes. Okay, and yeah. So regarding this encryption, as you can see here, it is having a platform managed key. So it means that whenever your disk, you are storing some data in your disk. If you think about that, but actually that physical disk is stored in some region, like for example, if I'm selecting Azure East US region, so the disk, the storage that is provided for me is from the data center that is physically present in the East US region, right? So when I don't want any unauthorized users to access my data which I have stored in those disks, so I'm going with we need to encrypt our data which we are storing, right? So the Azure platform itself, it providing you encryption with a platform managed key, but you can go with, if you have, you can create your own customer managed keys, or if your customer has given you a private keys, you can go and use them to encrypt your data so that no unauthorized users can use that data which is stored in the disks. Okay, so in the next sessions, I'm going to show you how to create a customer managed key, or like for example, how to create our own key and how we can encrypt our data in the disk available, how to encrypt that I'm going to show in my next sessions. So as of now, I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm just going with platform managed keys. Okay, so and the next one is data disk for VM. So as I show you here, so if I'm going to store the operating system and if I'm going to store my applications or data in the same disk, I can do that. But if the disk size is not enough for me, then I can go and attach a new optional disk and I can go and host my applications and data here. So this extra disk I can create while creating the virtual machine, or also I can create after creating the virtual machine as well. But this data disk is going to be like whatever, like this can be deallocated from your virtual machine. Let's say if you have hosted your application, you are placed your application data in this data disk, but you don't want this virtual machine anymore, but you want the data which you have stored there. So what you will do is you can just deallocate this data disk from this virtual machine, and if you want, you can attach it to any virtual machine when you create it, and you can access that data. Okay, so as of now, I don't want any extra data disk to be stored. So I'm just leaving it as it is. If you want, you can just go here, create and attach a new disk. You can go and create a extra data disk where you can store your data as well. Okay, just to click there, see, like this, you can give some name to your disk, and also you can select how much GB you want. So obviously you are going to pay whatever the extra disk you are going to choose. Based on that, you need to pay. But however, as of now, I'm just going to show you one of the example. I don't need that data disk, extra data disk, so I'm just moving on. Okay, next, move to networking. So any virtual machine that is created in the Azure platform, that should be part of that, need to be connected to any Azure virtual network. Okay, so as you can see here, to access this virtual machine, it should be part of any virtual network. It should be hosted, it can be accessed via some Azure virtual network. Let's say if you don't have any Azure virtual network created, then this Azure platform will automatically create one virtual network for you in regards to that particular resource group. And it will take one of the subnet in that virtual network, and it will connect your virtual machine to that subnet. Okay, so like this, if you have already created your virtual network and if you have your subnet, you can just go and give those details here so that your virtual machine will be placed on that network. Okay, so as we have seen earlier, this network security group is nothing but which traffic I want to allow to access my virtual machine. It's going to be decided based on the protocol I'm selecting here. So I have selected RDP 3389 before, so it's the same here. So I'm just moving to the next, management. So I'm not going to change anything. So this is regarding like a boot diagnosis. Whenever the system is booting up, so when you want to enable the storage, so based on that you can select the options. I'm just leaving as a default. So I'm moving next. So tags is nothing but like if you want to categorize your resources in particular, like for example, say in one resource group, I have multiple resources. I am working on few of the resources that is related to me, and there are few other resources that is related to my teammate. So what I go is I'll just create like my name and this is my VM, something like that. So that so that everyone knows this is my VM, and I can just access with this tag. I can access any resources that is related to me. I can access them easily. So like that, you can just give any property and the value to filter those particular resources, and especially it is useful for the billing purposes. So how much I'm going to use in particular. So if you are going to give some project name, so you can see how much that what are the resources that is tagged with that project, and what is the cost associated with that. Okay, so I'm going to give anything right now. So just go review and create. So it's running the validation whether I'm able to create or not. So yes, validation passed. As you can see here, it's going to cost me 0.2170 USD per hour based on the size I have selected and based on the criteria I have chosen there. It's going to cost me this amount. So when we are creating the size, when we are creating the virtual machine, when we are selecting the size, it showed us the how much is going to cost us per month, right? But actually it's going to cost you per hour. So this is the cost per hour. So if you are going to use for 2 hours, you will be charged only for the 2 hours. Whatever it may be the cost associated per month cost, you're not going to bother about that, because only you will be charged for the amount of time you are going to utilize. Okay. So these are the properties I have selected. Let's just go and create. Okay, it will take like approximately 3. So as you can see here, it started the deployment, and it will take approximately like 3 to 4 minutes to create the virtual machine. Meanwhile, I want you to show. Just a moment. Yeah. So there are few challenges that people are facing while creating any resources in the Azure platform. If you go to the Azure subscription, if you scroll down, you can see an option called usage and quotas. If you go into that, it will actually show you how much amount of resources you can use with your subscription. As you can see, I have utilized one network watcher in Australia Central region. So 1 of 1. So I have utilized it completely. So if you can see public IP addresses to the Australia Central region, I have allocated 20. I have used only 1. So if you have crossed, if you have reached that limit, you will not be able to create that resource in that particular region. Okay, so this is applicable to the free account as well, and also it is applicable to the pay-as-you-go model. Once you start using it based on your usage, it will be slowly increased. Or if you want to increase the quota, you can just go ahead and, as you can see the option here, request increase. So you can just go here and ask for the more quota. Or else if you are just practicing by yourself, you can just choose some other region. You can just start creating your virtual machines there. Okay, so this is one of the challenge that when you are trying to create some virtual machine, that it may fail because you have crossed that quota. Okay, and the other challenge is, let me show you. Okay. So other challenges, let's say Azure product Virginia. So if you go to Azure products, just so you can go and see, depending on your region, there are some services that might not be available in few of the regions. So for example, let me explore products by region. So if I click on that, select some of the products. Let's say I'm choosing some virtual Kubernetes service. So if you go on here, it is actually not available in the China East. So whoever trying to create in the China East will not be able to utilize this service. So like this, there are few limitations. There are few services that might not be available in the region that you have selected. So you have to come and cross check with that, and you have to give the region where these services are available. Okay, this is one of the another challenge. Okay, let's see, our Azure resource is available now. So now go to resource. So if you click on go to resource, this will take you to the virtual machine and their properties which you have created now. So as you can see, I have been allocated one public IP address, and also I have been, it has been tagged to my Azure subscription one. So whatever the charge cost associated with this, it's going to charge against this. And also you can see all the details that we have given while creating the virtual machine, right? So now let me go and try connecting my Azure virtual machine. So just go to connect. And as I have allowed the port RDP to connect to my virtual machine while creating the setting the network security group, so I can go with RDP now. Okay. So download that RDP file to your local computer. So just click on that. So connect. So the another challenge with the people face is like, whenever you are going to connect to this machine, it will automatically takes the Microsoft account with which you have logged in into your computer, and it might not be like available for you. Like whenever you type the password, if you don't recognize it, that it's taking the actual Microsoft account with which you have logged in into your laptop or machine. So even if you are typing the password, it will go wrong. So to make sure that, so go to the more choices, use as a different account. So give username along with the IP address it has, like 20.70. Is the IP address I have. So the username which I have given is VM1 and the password. So like this, you can connect to your virtual machine. Okay. my virtual machine, Windows virtual machine, which I have created, is up and running now. So now let's go. So in any Azure resource, like you are creating in the Azure, like any virtual machine or any resource that you are creating in the Azure, it will be directly automatically connected to the internet outside. So this virtual machine also is having a connectivity with the internet, so that you can just go on, download any software of your choice to this computer, and you can start using it accordingly. Okay. Okay. Now, this is a server manager. So let me close it. Okay. You can go to the server manager by clicking the start button, server manager. As of now, I have not set up any role to my virtual machine, right? So I have just created my virtual machine. I have not set up it as a web server yet. So if you want to set up as a database server, you can just go and download the software and install it so that it acts as a database server. So now I want my virtual machine as a web server. So I'm just going to install the web server application on this so that it acts as a web server. Okay. So by default, Windows offers one of the famous web server service that is called as a Internet Information Services. So I'm going to install that, and I'm going to check whether my virtual machine is responding to my request or not. Okay, let's go to add roles and features here. Yes, next. And I'm not going to change anything. Next. Yes, this is my VM, right? So I'm going to assign a role called web server IIS. So I'm going to add these features to my machine. Yes, next, next, next. Install. So I'm installing a web server Internet Information Services on my virtual machine to make sure that it acts as a web server for me. Okay. So until it creates, let's see. So, okay, we know that any web server can respond to the protocol, like can respond to the traffic which is coming from the HTTP protocols, right? Only from the port 80. It also supports some of the other protocols as well, but the main protocol that it supports is HTTP protocol. But if you remember, we have not allowed that HTTP traffic to come into our virtual machine when we have created our virtual machine, right? We have allowed only the RDP protocol for the traffic to come and go out, right? So now, but as it's being a web server, it should have access to the port 80 HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, so that it can so that the public can access this web server through the internet, right? So for that, what I can do is I'm just going to minimize my virtual machine. What I'm going to do is, this is my virtual machine which I have created in the Azure network. Here I'm going into the networking part. This is my VM, and I have gone into the networking property. As you can see, this is the RDP. This is the protocol which I have selected when I was creating my virtual machine. Now, to allow the traffic from HTTP port as well, I mean port 80 as well, to serve the web server, I'm just going to add an inbound port to route, like say customer service HTTP, and yes, allow. And yeah, I'm going to give a name as port 80. Just add. So it's creating a security group. It means that, so now onwards, your virtual machine is going to act accessible by the HTTP protocol as well. So now for this network security group, we have allocated HTTP port 80 as well. We have opened port 80 as well, so that the traffic can flow here. Okay, let's see whether it has created. Okay, it's created now. As you can see here, now port 80 is also available. Earlier it was not there. So now we have created another port role based on the role that I am creating my virtual machine for. So if you go here, as you can see, okay, it's virtual machine is installed. Now let me close this. Let me go to So this is the web server. We have web application we have installed in our internet information services. So developers can build their own e-commerce own websites, and this page is going to be accessed via the public IP address or the DNS through the internet. So to check whether it is accessible via the internet or not, I'm going to minimize my virtual machine. And okay, now let me go to overview. So this is the public IP address that is allocated to my virtual machine. I'm going to copy this and just going to, as you can see, so I'm not inside the virtual machine now. This is my own laptop and this is my Google like URL. So I have just pasted the public IP address from here, so and I can able to access the web server. So like this, if this web page is built, and if like for example, like any e-commerce application like that, the public can access it through the internet once we have allowed the ports and once you have set up the all security features. Okay, so this is the one of the example how to create your own virtual machine with the web server. So this is one of them. And yeah, before that, I just wanted to, sorry, we are almost time, but I will show you one of the important things we need to be known here. Okay, so let me close. So once you create your virtual machine, if you go to your file explorer, you can see that the disks that is available here. So this is the OS disk, which we have selected, premium SSD. Here, our operating system data and image will be stored in this disk. And another, if you recognize here, there is another disk that is called as a temporary storage. If you open that, there is a one README file. It's just a temporary file. So what it means is you cannot store any critical data or a critical application over in the temporary storage. Whenever you create a virtual machine, one temporary storage disk will be created along with that, but you cannot store any important data in that, because whenever you are going to stop or deallocate the machine from the Azure portal or here, whatever the data you have stored in the temporary storage, that will be deleted automatically. So either you have to go and store your application and data in the C drive, or else if it is not sufficient for you, you can go and add one extra disk, data disk, and that will be available here. You can go and store your data in that. Okay, so you cannot store any important or critical data in the temporary storage. This is one of the things. And coming to the cost analysis, Okay, so coming to the cost analysis, any resource that you are creating, what the main important thing you need to be always keeping in mind is, okay, so Murali is asking what is the purpose of the temporary disk. So for example, when you have created, if you want to store any temporary data, for example, like I can say that any simple file that you have created there, but just for the purpose of until you can refer or use that file, like for example, once your usage is done and you can delete that file, right? Once, like, yeah, like it's like a cache memory. Yes, so you are using, like for example, any temporary file you want to place, you can go ahead and you can use that temporary file, but make sure that whenever you reboot or whenever you reboot your server, it won't be deleted. If you are restarting your machine, it won't be deleted. Only when you are stopping your virtual machine, or if you are deallocating your virtual machine from where that actual your virtual machine will be deallocated from the physical infrastructure, only at that time the data in that will be deleted. But however, if you are just rebooting your virtual machine through the mission or through the portal, it won't make any changes to that. But still, it is a safer side not to place any critical or important files in the temporary folder, because it will be deleted when the virtual machine is stopped. Okay. So now coming to the cost analysis, one of the main purpose of I'm sorry. It is from. So can you see my screen now? Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, excellent. Okay, so I was just telling about the cost that is allocated associated with your resource. So when you create any resource, please keep in mind that every minute it's costing you, right? So to manage that, we have one option called, we can't just go and keep on checking that how much cost I have utilized now and how are my resources going on, which can I delete, right? So what I am going to do is, you can go into your subscription and you will be having an option called budgets. Okay, so if you go and set a budget, it means that you are setting one budget saying that if my amount of usage, if my cost is going to be that threshold, please notify me. So whatever the notification email address that you are going to provide here, your cost will be notified once if your cost reaches that threshold, you will be notified to that email address. So in the production environment, so you're whoever using the Azure platform, they might be given a client client email address like that. So whenever you are reaching that threshold, they will be notified. Okay, so I'm just going to create one sample budget here. So just go on add. I can select one name, just a budget one. Yes, I want monthly budget. So monthly, whenever my threshold is reaching, I need to be notified. Okay, so I'm creating now. I want this for every month until 2024. Yeah, so my budget amount is, let's say, $40. So next. Alert condition. So when you want to get the alerts, when your budget is completely reached, or when 80% of your budget is reached, or 50% of your budget is reached, when you want to get the alerts, that you need to set up here. So for example, let me say actual cost. So I don't want forecast budget to be notified. When the actual cost reaches like 80%, say, then notify me. I'm giving my email address. Okay. So whenever my usage reach $32, which is 80% of my total budget amount, it will notify me to my email. Okay. Just create. This is one of the things. And the next thing of saving the budget is, whenever you are done with any resources, as you can see, the budget was successfully created. Let's see, this is the budget which I have created now. My budget is per month $40, but when I started using, if it reaches approximately $32, then please notify me. This is the budget. In this way, you can be notified to manage your cost so that you don't exceed what you have to pay. You can manage in that way. And the other thing is, you can just go into your resource group. So this is the resource group I have created, RG1. Let's see here. So these are the resources that are created while I was creating my virtual machine. So this is the VM I have created, and this is the public IP address and the NS encrypted security group. These are the other resources that were automatically created based on the options we have given, and we can see all those here. Okay, so if you are done with your usage, it is best practice to go and make sure that you delete all the resources that you don't want it anymore. Okay, for example, you can go here. There are few services, there are few resources that is always free. For example, like virtual network and virtual interface, network security group. These are all the services that is always free. You won't be charged against that anymore. How you can know is, you can just go and see always the Azure pricing. Let me show you. Azure pricing. Let me search for virtual network. Virtual network pricing. If you go and see here, the virtual network Azure is a free of charge. It's not going to charge you for the virtual network creation. But however, the traffic which it is allowing inbound and output, depending on the traffic, that will be charged. But actually the virtual network, it is free of cost. Okay. But there are other few resources that is still running, which will be charged for me. And also like if I am going to stop this virtual machine, if I'm going to into the virtual machine, let me go here. Okay. If I'm going into the virtual machine, if I'm going to stop my virtual machine, it's going to be deallocated from the physical infrastructure where it is placed. At that time, the public address, this public address is a dynamic address, right? So this will be deleted, and whenever I start the mission, the new IP address will be allocated. In the same way, whenever we stop, or it will be deallocated from the physical infrastructure, and the temporary disk, whichever was available, that will be deleted, and whenever we start, and the other new one will be created. Okay, so here, let me go to the resource group. So here, there are several resources that were created along with that. So I need to make sure that I have done with my application. Okay, I have tested my web server. I'm done with that. I don't want to be charged anymore. So what I can do is I can just go here and select all the resources. And if you can see, minimize this. Okay, if you can see here, there is an option called delete. So if you click on delete, all the resources that you have selected here, that will be deleted. But if you're not sure, if you want to delete all the resources that is available, you don't want any resources anymore, then you can just go to the resource group. And you can just directly delete this delete resource group. So whenever you click on that, it will ask you to give the name. My resource group name is RG1. So I'm going to delete it. So whenever you click on delete, please make sure that you check the notifications, because sometimes you might get alerts that some of the resources may not be completely deleted here. That will be keep on charging you until you recognize and delete them. Okay, so please make sure that this deleting process completes successfully, and you will get until you get a successful message of deletion process. Okay. So let's go here. The other thing. So the other thing is, when you go to the Azure subscription, you can actually see your cost analysis, how much you have used and how much is costing you. Yeah, if you go to the cost analysis, yeah. If you go to the cost analysis, it will show you how much amount you have used and what's your forecasted amount that you're going to pay for this month, everything like that. Like this. So I have created a budget of $40 per month, and now my charge for now is 0.35 only, because I have just created one virtual machine and I'm going to delete it now. So I will be charged only for that 1 hour or so, the amount of time which I have used. Okay. Let's see now. So it's a deleted resource group. So if I go back, if I refresh my portal, it's still showing here, but it's actually deleted when I have got the notification that my resource group and the resources inside is successfully deleted. So it's still showing here. It will take few minutes. So when I refresh it, sometimes it's now see, so it has gone. So I don't have any resource group created, and all the resources which I have created inside that resource group have been deleted. Okay. So I hope you have enjoyed this today's session. I'm just going to paste for you like another. I'm just going to stop the recording and I will open a question and answer session as we have already passed the time for a few minutes. Yeah, thank you so much, Murli. Yeah, just a moment. Recording.